Baruch Dayan Hamet, we praise the Judge of Truth. And let us begin our service for Boris with Psalm 121. Esai Einai El Haharim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz. Al Yitein Namot Raglecha, Al Yanum Shomrecha. Hine Lo Yanum V'Lo Yishan Shomer Yisrael. Adonai Shomrecha, Adonai Tzilcha Al Yad Yeminecha. Yomam Hashemesh Lo Yekaka V'Yarech B'Layla. Adonai Yishmarcha Mikor Ra Yishmoret Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmar Tzedcha V'Wecha Me'ata V'Ad Olam. I lift up mine eyes unto the mountains, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian. He is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not strike thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. And now let us recite the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We have people to eulogize and speak about our dear Boris. Nella, Golda, and the granddaughters are coming. Okay.
So, his whole life, my father used to tell me lots of stories of his childhood in his beloved Narovia. In those stories, there was endless outdoor adventure and fun. He played hockey on a frozen pond all winters long, and he only played offense because he would always know just how to trick the goalie and score at the last second. So in those stories, Dad was always the pivotal person. Dad liked to be the driver of his life. So he lived his life fully and out loud. He loved to create elaborate schemes where, using his ingenuity, he'd fix the lives of multiple families like a Rubik's Cube. So he worked hard and he played even harder, and he always bought the best of everything. He loved being a gracious host and invite everyone on his boat, and then have extensive banquets at the house. At those banquets, he would be constantly joking. Boris was ready with a joke on any occasion. And my dad was never sick as a child, and he never saw a doctor until he got his diabetes. So, and it's uncanny that it was ultimately this uncontrolled sugar that struck at the core of how my dad wanted to be in this life. So diabetes and colon cancer forced him to give up his motorcycle and his boat, then driving his grandkids, then owning and caring for a dog, then going to restaurants, celebrating my birthday. So watching his world get gradually smaller has been unbearable. And yet throughout, he kept his spirits high. He kept cracking jokes. So Dad never lost hope that he would be healed. He thought he would trick cancer like the good offense player that he was in hockey. He thought he would just score and he would win. So he loved life and honestly thought the next treatment will fix it all. He would go to doctor's appointment with Mom, and in the middle of serious explanation, he would interrupt the doctor and tell them a joke. So I wanted to repeat the joke today, but I cannot deliver it. My delivery is awful, so no jokes. So Dad, we will always remember your spirit, to keep looking for silver lining. We'll always remember your zest for life, and that to participate in this life fully is such a gift and a blessing.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today to celebrate the life of our grandfather. His legacy of hard work, kindness, and love will remain with us forever.
His story is definitely one of resilience and determination. When he immigrated to Vermont, he came in search of a better life, not only for himself, but for his family. He taught us the value of hard work, not just through words, but by example. Whether it was his career, his home, or his relationships, he poured his heart into everything he did.
One of my fondest memories of my grandfather was going fishing on Lake Champlain with him. We used to sail around for hours on the Annabelle Gale, was the boat he had. And the time just flew by. It was filled with laughter and jokes and stories. And he had this way of making the most simple experiences feel so special. I remember my first time fishing, we stuck to the pier, and I managed to catch a gigantic fish, almost as big as I was. And once we hauled it out of the water, he was so proud. He went around showing everyone on the pier, "Look at this fish, look at what my granddaughter caught." And that moment summed up who he was. He's someone who found immense joy in celebrating the people around him, the people he loved. I'll always remember that moment and all the moments since.
One of my best memories with my grandfather was sleeping over at his house with my sister. There was a candy shop right down the road, and we would always beg to go. On nice days, we would all walk down together. I remember the sunlight hitting us as we raced ahead to get to the candy shop faster, determined to get our hands on as much candy as possible. I remember him laughing and calling us to come back, placating us with anecdotes and jokes, until we reached the store. It wasn't just about the candy, it was about the joy of being together, the stories that he told us on the way, and the way he made the simplest outings feel like a grand adventure.
Today, as we say goodbye, I find comfort in knowing that his spirit lives on in the lessons he taught us and the love that he shared. Thank you for the memories, the wisdom, and the example of a life well lived.
We will all miss you, but I'll carry on your love and lessons with me always. Thank you for everything.
And to all of those words spoken as a prayer, let us say, Amen. Arthur, yes, please.
I wanted to share with you a memory of my dad in his happy place, which we all know is on his boat. His first boat was a 22-foot Marathon, that's the brand name. And it was an appropriate name. That was the amount of time you're going to spend on the boat with him. But then his last boat, which I think was his favorite, he named after Annabelle Gale, his first granddaughter and his mother. We'd cruise out to some little quiet beach or an island somewhere on Lake Champlain, and we'd go swimming and fishing, and we'd often just camp out overnight on the boat. And the most magical time was when you wake up in the morning and it's really quiet and the lake was kind of like glass. It's the best time to go water skiing, and I just remember how he's really proud of me water skiing, and just the feeling of being on such a quiet place just with him was really special. What I didn't appreciate as a kid was kind of the freedom that you had on the lake, moving kind of in any direction with shocking speed, with no regulation. You can kind of do whatever you want. And out there, the captain of the boat was like a king, and I was proud to be his second mate. But that might have been Pushok, in honesty, his dog. I was just happy that I was allowed to kind of be free with him, and I could jump off the boat onto a dock and catch the boat like I was a pirate or something. And this kind of gave me a freedom with him as well. And so 35 years ago, our family moved to the U.S. Seeking freedom and opportunity. But being out on the lake with his family, Dad obtained a personal freedom and bliss. And I was happy to share that with him. And I hope he's at peace now and feels that freedom. Thanks.
And also to those words spoken as a prayer, let us say, Amen. Boris Chukhman was a joyful personality. He loved to make a play on words when you said something. Often that meant he would interrupt the doctor or whomever, and he couldn't help himself. He just had to say something funny. And some of these things travel through from generation to generation. His grandchildren, these granddaughters. It's a remembrance working with Chana, with Annabelle. Can't remember the English name. For her bat mitzvah, we would work for bat mitzvah, and now I realize it's like her Diadushka. We would be talking about something, and she would talk about something else, and then she would ask many questions. And this also was the same for Chaya, with Amelia. So this came from him. I didn't realize it until you just were saying this. And the way it worked with the granddaughters, I don't know if it worked with your husband this way, but you would say, okay, say everything you need to say, ask all the questions you need to ask, whenever you need to ask them, and then we'll move on. It worked a little bit, but it seems like with Boris, he was always doing this. It was just part of who he was. It's so beautiful. And yesterday, as we were talking about Boris, as you were talking about Boris, his name is Baruch ben Avram V'Golda. Baruch means blessing. Avram is Abraham's name. Our patriarch before it became Abraham was Avram, means father of many. and Golda. Golda is obviously Golda, gold. There's a great midrash that's a reminder of him as you were talking. A favorite midrash, which means it's a Talmudic story. Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka, in the 2nd century he lived. He was a saintly rabbi who constantly was pondering and thinking about the great mysteries of life and the inscrutable mystery, the tremendous mystery of life beyond the grave. And one day, as Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka was walking through the town market, he was engrossed in his ponderings, and he came into direct spiritual communication with Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet whom we invite to our Passover Seder every year, the one who's got the glass that we look to see if he drinks any of the wine. He's the one to be the forerunner of the Messianic time, the Messiah, a time of universal brotherhood and sisterhood and peace. So Rabbi Yochanan comes into direct spiritual communication with Elijah, and he asks Elijah, will any of these people in the marketplace share the bliss of the world to come after they and I have died? And Elijah pointed to two people who were entertaining the people in the marketplace. It says, with their playfulness, they were entertaining. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka said, what? These simple performers are to be my companions in the world to come? What merits do they possess? And Elijah answered, they have joyful, fun-loving spirits that brighten up the hearts of others. This is him. Joyful, fun-loving spirits. And as hard as it is, we should try to be that way too. That was your beloved husband and father and grandfather and, as you wrote, pet papa. Now I realize he had a dog. You have a dog, but I didn't realize that was the dog we're talking about, another dog. Your dear relative, your dear friend, your dear brother, your dear co-worker. He was a character, and his personality gave lots of laughter and fun and joy. Boris was born March 16th, 1952 in Novovilia, Belarus, and his parents, of blessed memory, Abram and Galina. He has an older brother, Alec, in New York, and it's his brother, almost like a father. It's a half-brother, but because his Alec's father had passed away, and then Galina got remarried. She married Abram, and then Boris comes. But 15 years later, Alec was 15 years older, and Boris's father, having died at a young age, and Boris's older brother Alec took him in. It was like a father figure to him. Alec was 15 years older than Boris, and Alec was also general in the Red Army. So he was very structured. He was an authoritative figure, and this was a good thing for Boris. Alec might have been the only Jewish general in the Red Army, the family said. Yeah, not a lot of Jewish generals in the Red Army, then or now. Boris and Mila met in 1975. He came to Moldova after he graduated college to work as a civil engineer. He was 21, she was 18, and she had just graduated high school. And there's a beautiful picture of the two of them at the wedding, or soon after the wedding. Gorgeous picture. They met at an International Women's Day dance on March 8th, 1975. And I asked, isn't International Women's Day like May 1st? And said, no. In Soviet Union before, it used to be on March. So you met at a dance. And then they got married pretty soon thereafter. Met in March, April, May, June, July. In 5 months, they got married. I think your parents might not be excited about that. So you just wait a little while, right? Yeah, wait a little while. It's a different conversation. Okay, all right. So they were married August 9th, 1975, and they were blessed with family. All right, daughter Nella and son Arthur. Nella is married to Misha. Arthur to Sarah, and the grandchildren, Annabelle and Amelia. So back in the former Soviet Union, they raised the family in Moldova. And as you know, they came to the United States in the early 1990s. He took a big risk to bring his family here. And in search of freedom and opportunity. He was a loving husband and father and grandfather, a master entertainer and a jokester, and he was the life of the party. He worked tirelessly. He started in the sanitation department at a bakery, and he worked himself up to be a technician at IBM. He would do anything for his friends and family, and he lived life to the fullest. And most of us who are of this age or older, we know, you start in the mailroom at a place. You take your first job where you get it. And then, choot. You move your way up or sideways or all sorts of places, but you have to start somewhere. And he started as a sanitation department at a bakery. No job is below you. Just good hard work is what we should do. He enjoyed fishing and skiing and boating on Lake Champlain in Vermont. That is a great picture. That is a great picture. And for here, this is a great picture too. This is a different picture on a boat. There's no lack of pictures on a boat. My father, Oliver Shlomo, of blessed memory, was a boater too, so we have a boating tie for my father. It's got anchors on it. I don't have to wear a serious tie for anything. His health, as you know, has been deteriorating over the past 5 years especially. And on Shabbat morning, Friday night over to Saturday morning, Shabbat morning, he breathed his last. And he was, as sad as it is, he was really ready to go. He breathed his last. And so, now there is rest and wholeness and peace. Just as Shabbat is a time of rest, so too for our dear Boris, our dear Baruch, it's a time of rest and peace. His soul, Judaism teaches and believes that his soul is returning to God and to be with the souls of his dear relatives and friends of blessed memory and the ancestors of our people. We learn this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. And so when we go to the cemetery, we will lay his body to rest. His soul returns to God. One day, all of us will be together with the souls of our loved ones in Olam Haba, which is a time. Olam Haba, the world to come, is not a place, it's a time. So it's an eternal time. We're sending along a book of Jewish midrashim. A midrash is a legend or a story, a commentary on a Bible verse, but through a story. And since he loved to tell stories, we're sending a book of midrashim with him, and also a Passover Haggadah. And we're sending the Haggadah in particular because it's a mitzvah to escort not only the body of our loved one to his final resting place, also holy books of our tradition. And the Haggadah is when we recall the exodus from Egypt. Our ancestors, many, many, many years ago, thousands of years ago, were freed from Egyptian slavery. And we are free today because of God's deliverance those many years ago. And Boris, our dear Boris, has been liberated, and he has been freed, and he has been delivered from the deterioration and the illness and the pain. You are filled with memories of him, and we give thanks to God for this gift of life. 72. When you're this big, 72 is long. It's all so old. When you're this big, 72 is not that long. We would have hoped for him to be around many, many more years. And we also would have hoped for that to be in health. We also don't like to see our loved ones. We don't want our loved ones to suffer. And as you think of him, you should make some word plays. You should tell some jokes. You should be fun to be around, because other people can be sad and you can help brighten their spirits. Joyful, fun-loving spirits who brighten up the hearts of others. And so we conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And let us say, Amen. Ose Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Yimru, Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed Boris Chukhman. And let us say, Amen. In a few moments, we will do the El Malei Rachamim prayer, and then we will go in procession to Mount Sinai Cemetery. At the grave will be the first time we say the Kaddish, and then Boris is going to be on the Kaddish list Wednesdays for Hebrew school this afternoon, because it starts Hebrew school after the burial, and it'll be on the Kaddish list Sunday for Sunday school, and it'll be on the Kaddish list every Friday night, all of this for the next month, beginning today, and four Friday nights. Whether any family members are able to attend or not, it'll be our privilege to say Kaddish for him. The kids need reps in the Kaddish. We've been doing reps in the Kaddish for years and years and years. You know the Kaddish now. But, we start this big, so that when you need to say Kaddish, you can say Kaddish. So all the other kids are learning the Kaddish too. If you are not going to Mount Sinai Cemetery with us, and you're just going to meet at Europa, it should be about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half maybe, from right now. So we will probably be there right around 2 o'clock. If you come to the grave, even better. But if you can't make it, then the family will all meet you there at Europa. Please rise for El Malei Rachamim. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of our dear Boris Chukhman, Baruch ben Avram V'Golda. For you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, V'zohar Harakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Baruch ben Avram V'Golda, Shahalach L'olamo, Ba'al Harachamim, Yastirehu B'Setzeh K'nafav Le'olamim. Vayitzror Yitzor HaChaim, Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar Amen. compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Boris Chukhman, Baruch ben Avram V'Golda. He has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
going into hers. Hers, yep.